Separate my... Okay, I'm going to call the May 15th meeting of the Lee County Historic Preservation Board to order, and I'll do a roll call, or I guess Janet will do the roll call.
Here.
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 Okay, and I guess Amanda will give us a review of the affidavit of publication.
Good afternoon. Amanda Swindle for the record with the County Attorney's Office. I have reviewed the affidavit of publication and it is legally sufficient.
Okay, first item on the agenda is election of officers. I think you guys pushed that last meeting because we didn't have everybody that was currently a member present. I don't know if you want to do that again.
I would suggest doing that again.
For the sake of expediency too. Okay. I need to make a motion to that, to move that.
Motion to postpone?
Yeah. And a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll push that. Next will be the approval of the January 16th, 25 minutes. Any comments, revisions from members?
I didn't say anything.
I wasn't here, so I can't comment. So, motion approved.
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Minutes approved. All right, our first and only case is a special certificate of appropriateness, SCA 2025-00008, 11458 May Street, duplex in Mount Lachey. And I guess I'll let staff go first with presentation.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Lee County Zoning Section presenting SCA 2025-00008 for 11458 May Street duplex. Board, I have given you guys some handouts if you'd like to follow along with me. You don't have to, but it makes it a little easier for you. First page, the applicant does request to modify the previously approved SCA 2023-00020 that allowed for the elevation and reconstruction of the existing quadplex to redesign the second floor level to a duplex now. The request includes redesigning new upper floors on top of the existing building and converting the ground floor into storage space. Staff finds that the proposed project as conditioned conforms to the character of the Mount Lachey Historic District and the community as a whole with respect to its architectural elements and overall style, including the mass and the scale of the proposed building, and conforms to the character of the residential block on May Street. The next page, we'll talk a little bit about the background on this property. It is currently listed as non-contributing. It's located at 11458 May Street in Mount Lachey at the intersection of May Street and Pine Street. May Street fronts the southeast and southwest sides of the property for a total of 280 feet. The rear of the property backs onto a canal for approximately 207 feet. The property was originally created as part of Geary's addition to Mount Lachey, recorded in Plat Book 9, page 4, as 4 lots that were numbered 37 to 40. Subject property is developed with 2 structures. The first is a duplex located on the northwest portion of the property, was approved by SCA 2024-00002. The second building, the subject of this request, is a quadplex that was located on the southeast portion of the property. According to Lee County Property Appraiser, the duplex was constructed in 1959 and contains 2 living units with 360 square feet of living area. And the existing quadplex was constructed in 1953 and contains 4 living units, each with approximately 338 square feet of living area. There is also a dock and a boat lift built in 2012 on the property that still exists. The next page, we talk about the history of cases on this property. It has had 4 previous historic cases. The first one, COA 2011-00147, approved the replacement of that dock that we discussed prior and the installation of the boat lift. SCA 2023-00006 proposed a new second and third and the third floor on the quadplex. It was denied by this board, which found that the size, scale, and mass of the proposed structure was excessive compared to the rest of the residential block on May Street. The third historic case, SCA 2023-00020, proposed to elevate the existing quadplex and duplex on the subject parcel by constructing new upper floors on top of the existing buildings and converting the ground floors to the storage space. Staff found the request to be consistent with the design guidelines for Mount Lachey Historic District, and the Historic Preservation Board did approve that request. The applicant then submitted for the development order that's required and a commercial permit for reconstruction of the existing quadplex only as part of development order number DOS 2024-00097 and commercial permit COM 2023-03246. He then would submit for SCA 2024-00002 that would redesign the existing duplex, allowing for an expansion of the structure only in the event that the development order that he applied for would be withdrawn and not pursued further, which is the reason for the request before us today. So the next page, we'll talk about a little bit of the changes that he's asked for on this now. The proposed elevation and redesign of the quadplex to a duplex will allow the applicant to meet FEMA flood elevation standards. The proposed building will be a two-story structure from ground level and composed of 2 second-floor residents and a common laundry facility built on top of the existing ground floor that will be used, again, for storage space. Front and side stairs and rear deck will be wood, and the railings will be an open style. The next page, we'll talk about the southwest elevation. The southwest-facing front elevation does face onto May Street. The existing 5-foot mansard has been removed from the ground floor, and front facade is open to the street and used for tenant storage. A single external staircase will split into 2 90-degree turns to the upper landing, which will then provide access to those 2 second-floor dwelling units. The second-floor level will use 2 single doors for the access into each of the units and provide horizontally placed windows, keeping with the style of the existing structure and neighboring properties. The next page discusses the southeast elevation. The southeast elevation of the duplex will fill in a single existing window on the ground floor and will include no windows to the second floor facade, so it'll just be a blank wall. The next page is the northwest-facing side elevation of the duplex. That will remove the existing smaller windows on the ground floor and create a door opening under the side staircase for access to that ground-level storage. The newly designed staircase to the second floor will connect to the new rear deck extending across the entire rear of the property, or the rear of the building, and north-facing facade. The second floor facade will consist of 1 horizontally placed window, and that is consistent with the rest of the building. The last northeast elevation, that's rear-facing towards the canal, that will fill in existing windows and create openings for access into that tenant storage area again. Second floor will include the newly designed 8-foot deck across the back of the entire building. Each unit will be accessible with 2 sliding doors, sliding glass doors across that back, and 1 horizontally placed window for each unit will be provided. And then the common laundry facility will be accessible as well by a sliding glass door from the rear deck. Next page discusses those design guidelines for the Mount Lachey Historic District. Just some key points. I won't go over every single one of them, but some of those key points that were reoccurring throughout the report included for 1.0 for streetscapes, the need to elevate the subject property to meet FEMA flood elevations already requires the building to be taller than those neighboring structures. It is therefore not feasible to keep the subject property at the same height. The building height is similar to properties within Geary's addition, and the recently approved special certificate of appropriateness on this property. Pattern and spacing is largely unchanged, and the proposed design maintains the original features and materials of the building. For 2.0 for building site, as a non-contributing structure, there are no features that have been determined to be historically significant on the property. The ground floor walls are being maintained and restored to their original CMU textures, with the doors and windows being removed to accommodate flood requirement. The building will maintain the same orientation to the street and the water, and it maintains the building's symmetry and setbacks. For 3.0 on additions to existing buildings, due to the wide variety of housing types in Geary's addition, there is little uniformity in appearance for roofs, porches, and entrance features. The applicant's selection of tropical paint colors are common to Geary's addition and the Matlacha Historic District as a whole. Although the overall height of the building may not conform to any patterns along the residential block, the proposed pattern of windows and doors on the elevated ground floor is generally respectful of the prevailing fenestration patterns on the block and of the original building on the property. So lastly, staff recommendations. We have reviewed the elevations and renderings and find the project to be consistent with the design guidelines for the Matlacha Historic District. Staff recommends the Historic Board approve the special certificate of appropriateness for the subject property pursuant to LDC Chapter 22 to permit the construction of the proposed elevated duplex as depicted on the site plan stamped received March 7th, 2025, and the elevations stamped received March 25th, 2025, and make a finding that the request does comply with the design guidelines for the Matlacha Historic District and Lee County Land Development Code Chapter 22. And that is all I have, unless you have any questions.
Any discussion or questions from board or staff?
My question that I had earlier, but it was answered. So it was a quad and a duplex. Now it's going to be a duplex and a duplex, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And that made it compliant with the TFC2.
Yes, that brought it further into compliance with TFC2.
Okay. So we're not looking at anything that'll be out of compliance if we let it go. Applicant, Chris, you have anything to offer? No, we're good. Anybody, public comment? No? Have a motion?
I can go ahead and move. I would move to approve the special certificate of appropriateness for the subject property pursuant to LDC Chapter 22 to permit the construction of the proposed elevated duplex as depicted on the site plan received March 7th, 2025, and elevation stamped received March 25th, 2025, and make a finding that the request complies with the design guidelines for the Matlacha Historic District in Lee County LDC Chapter 22.
Second.
Okay, second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
I guess one request that you've done before is allow for minor modifications through the permit code process, which is, this is a decent change from the last SCA, which is understandable of the division, but
You'd have to,
where you have accommodated minor adaptations as opposed to different parts of the review.
Yeah, I think staff can, minus
do-
staff can approve.
There are certain changes that we allow, like to help meet FEMA code for the first floor and things like that. Anything that's found de minimis by staff can be done administratively.
yeah, we have in the past gone back and amended what, he would add that clause to what he just said. Is that something we need to re-up, or is it something?
I mean, it sounds like that is already provided for in the code, but I don't see an issue with
Right.
putting it on.
We did it before because it was novel at the time, but now it's become procedure in this post-Ian situation.
Yeah, we did it, yeah, that's correct. Staff's authority to approve administrative changes was expanded.
Okay, point noted. Any Huh?
We vote?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
We were all in favor, all four, so, okay.
Mr. Chair, before we get into the
Yes.
public comment portion, if I could, I just want to address an issue. I was notified yesterday that there was an intent to do a comprehensive presentation for this board from the Matlacha Civic Association. I'm not certain if it is the same presentation that is before me, but I did skim through that presentation, and my assessment is that the issues raised in this presentation are not within the jurisdiction or authority of the Historic Preservation Board. They have to do with issues regarding general code enforcement compliance, blight in Matlacha, of course, damage from the hurricane, traffic, road conditions. I think there's something about people cooking meth in here. Again, none of those issues are within the jurisdiction or authority of the Historic Preservation Board and are more adequately and appropriately addressed with the building official, code enforcement, and the rest of the community development department. So my advice to the board, we do have a public comment period within our agenda. However, using that public comment period to present a lengthy presentation on non-agenda items that are not within the jurisdiction of the Historic Preservation Board, to me, is not appropriate. So I suggested that the chair institute a 3-minute time limit for public comment. We don't normally have that, but to avoid basically having to spend these advisory board members' time who are volunteering for this position to listen to an issue that they can do nothing about, I don't think is worthwhile. So that's my advice to the chair, is to institute a time limit for public comment.
I appreciate the input, Amanda, and I will initiate that time limit to 3 minutes per person for comment.
Well, and I am the one that prepared this presentation as a board member, and I would disagree with that assessment. And again, I'm not an attorney, but as a layperson reading the guidelines in the different sections of what our purview is, I would disagree that we have no stake in this game. We have been given a very serious responsibility on the Historic Review Board, and that is, the Historic Preservation Board, and that is, we have told people how they can use their properties for a greater good. But in Florida, particular property rights are respected, and we have overruled private property rights for a greater good. And we have committed to the people who have purchased or are building or are interested in coming to Matlacha that we will honor the historic district and the guidelines that have been given to us here. We have failed them in that. And so when I look at section 22.242, section 22.243, unsafe structures, 22.244, emergency work, they seem to very clearly put some onus on county officials to report to us, which has not been done. And also, we have some culpability here in not asking that 35 calendar day notices be given, which is called for in section 22.245. So I would disagree with that statement. I mean, if we're not going to preserve the historic district, what are we doing here? Why are we telling people what they can and cannot do with their properties? Why is Blue Dog busting their rear end to present a nice property when a hellhole is allowed to exist across the street from them?
So I would like to respond to that. So the board's purview is to review special certificates of appropriateness, applications for designation. That's generally the board's intent and jurisdiction. Regarding demolition, the actual role of the historic preservation is not to encourage demolition, but rather to try their best to prevent demolition and save historic resources. The code sections that you mention, actually, if you read them closely, the intent isn't to allow the Historic Preservation Board to initiate demolition or begin that process. There is a provision regarding demolition by neglect. I would say as a property owner, I may argue that damage from a hurricane doesn't necessarily constitute demolition by neglect, but if the case is being made that failure to repair a property in a certain time period is neglectful, the board's responsibility under the demolition by neglect section is simply to report those properties to the building official. So to the extent that this board would like to identify specific properties that it feels have been demolished by neglect and report that to the building official, that's absolutely appropriate. But that is your sole limitation, and I don't believe there's a requirement for the building official to report to you. There's a requirement that the building official be notified that a property that they're looking at for designation as an unsafe structure is a historic resource, and in that case, the historic board would need to be consulted, but again, that's for the purpose of trying to save the property rather than trying to encourage its demolition. So again, I disagree with your interpretation. I realize you have a different opinion there, but again, this is the county attorney's office analysis of the actual land development code, which created this body, and the administrative code, which governs its meetings.
Well, my specific issues fall under the unsafe structure, which says if the building official determines that any designated historic resource or contributing property is unsafe pursuant to the provisions of the applicable county ordinances, that building official will immediately notify the Historic Preservation Board by submitting copies of such findings. To my knowledge, that hasn't been done.
I mean, I can't tell, I don't have any facts to say that a building has been deemed unsafe by the building official that is a historic designated resource that was not reported to this committee. I have no information to say whether or not that has occurred. If it has, that is contrary to this policy, this procedure, and we'll try to fix that. But again, that is all initiated by the building official. The building official makes that call that something is an unsafe structure, and then this board is consulted with the intent to try to save the structure rather than encourage its demolition. So
that hasn't been done. They are deemed dangerous. They have orange shines on them. They've been so neglected that the orange shines are now sun bleached and you can't even read what was originally on there, and we were never notified here.
So if your issue is that you would encourage that these unsafe structures be demolished, then the building official marking them as unsafe is actually what you want to happen. Again, the intent of them coming and consulting with you isn't for you to say, yes, I agree, that should be demolished. It's for you to try to figure out ways to preserve the whatever historic value might be left in that property. So, I mean, I don't think what you're asking for is actually going to speed up any kind of county process regarding designating these unsafe buildings. Again, I've given you a path where if you identify specific property addresses that you feel have been demolished by neglect, well, then that needs to be sent to the building official. That doesn't need to be a presentation in front of the Historic Preservation Board. We're not at public comment yet.
Well, I was asked at the last meeting by this board to bring this list.
I mean, is this a list or is this a 60-something page PowerPoint presentation about?
It's photos and addresses of what was, they asked me to bring this.
I see one page with addresses on it. The rest of I guess maybe there are a few, but I mean, the majority of these are dealing with just general blight conditions on Matlacha, meth cooking and graffiti and things like that. These are not within the jurisdiction of the historic.
Buildings that we're not doing anything about.
We can't do anything. What are we supposed to do about it?
Disagree with that, Joe?
Ms. Walsh,
Can we redirect back to something you had said earlier, because I want to touch on it? I don't remember if you were present for the meeting, but a couple of months ago, we approved an application for a barn off of Gladiolus to be demoed. That's an example of something that has been deemed unsafe, and then they actually brought it to us to demo. I think the issue with what's going on with these buildings on Matlacha, which are Shonda, it's a shame. It's terrible. The owners are not bringing those applications to us, and the building code I don't know if there's a disconnect there that we need to address with the county commissioners, but we can't reach out to permitting and say, hey, can you guys get on knocking these down?
You have zero
But
authority.
I think the applicant is the one that needs to bring it to us when it's a historic resource. And I agree with you, that's a problem. I do. I understand.
It's a real problem,
But-
but we're supposed to be in the loop and be given notice of when these buildings are deemed dangerous, and we haven't been kept in that loop. Are you saying we have no recourse? Oh, well, you didn't tell us, so I guess there's nothing we can do.
I mean, I will certainly ask staff to follow up on whether or not the land development code procedure is being followed when a designated historic resource is identified by the building official as being unsafe and, potentially subject to demolition, that this board be consulted.
So-
Now, I can say that Anthony told me that if you wish to submit a straight-up list of addresses of properties that are of concern to you, we can take those in and do some research on those properties.
Okay, a reminder, this is 3 years post-Ian. We're almost at 3 years post-Ian.
Yeah. Also,
Not our fault.
Ask a question for clarification.
not yet, not yet.
Not yet. We're still in the board. We're not
So
in public.
I disagree with you, Joe, respectfully with the reading of this.
And
I
so-
think it's real easy to sit here and tell people, oh, you can only go this high and you can only have this paint color. But when it comes down
We don't-
to maintaining the,
We're not allowed to talk about paint.
Yeah, we're not even allowed to talk about paint color.
when we don't do the hard work of maintaining the historic district the way it is intended to be maintained,
How are we supposed to maintain the district?
because we're supposed to make sure that we're alerted when dangerous buildings.
So when they alert us, what are we supposed to do about it?
You tell me, what are we?
No, you
Okay.
tell me.
According to, and I'm sure that I will be told that I'm not reading this correctly, but in the neglect area, we can offer a 35 calendar day notice showing evidence of neglect, and the owner has 35 days, according to this section, to remediate that.
Or
Or
what?
we'll hold a public hearing to recommend to the building official that the owner be issued a citation for code violation.
Again, it's a recommendation to the building official that requires the building official to make that determination, which again is very similar to the first instance, except for you're trying to get the property owner to come in here first. So, I mean, what I've heard is that the problem is non-compliant property owners that aren't going to come in. So you can either give your list to staff now, and then that list can go to the building official, or you can use that process to provide owners with notice and an opportunity for a hearing and an appeal process, and then refer them to the same place.
Okay, well, William Diaz has this list.
I really would like to ask.
We're not there yet. We're not the public yet, Mike.
Secondly-
Just hang on.
Sir, we are not in a session.
Just wait. Just hang
So
on.
clearly, William Diaz we're not getting anywhere with William. He doesn't
So
even,
for clarification,
Excuse me,
what
Mike.
the ruling is the ruling that Ms. Walsh can't speak for 3 minutes, or people?
No,
I
no.
don't
you-
think there has been a ruling yet. We're
no.
under discussion
She can
right
speak
now.
as long as she wants. We're not to you yet. You get 3 minutes when we get there because
We're
you're public.
under board
She's not.
discussion right
That's
now.
all we're trying to do. But
Unfortunately, there's no representative from the building official's office or code enforcement here, so I cannot speak to that aspect of it. My role as the attorney for this board is to make sure that this board focuses on what its jurisdiction and authority is, and that's my intent.
I feel like you're trying to make us an enforcement board, and we're not. We're not. We have no authority for that at all.
I'm trying to get us to be partners with the building department and the code compliance department. I'm not trying to set us up as against one another. I'm trying to say, according to our own rules, we are supposed to be working together, and the onus has been on them to alert us to what's been flagged as a dangerous building. That has not been done.
But again, my question with that is, once they alert us, what are we supposed to do about it?
And I just
We're not
read,
code enforcement. We're not the sheriff's department. We're not going to, what are we supposed to do at that point?
we'll get the grease. Do we get anywhere else? People in Mount Lachey are beating their heads against the wall. They call Diaz
Not
a
because of us. Not because of us, they're not.
But I'm saying, can we not partner and help these folks in the historic district by going to code compliance and saying, hey, you never followed what you were supposed to follow in this.
Yes, and I believe that's what I've suggested, is that you have a list of definite properties that you want the building official to investigate. Provide that to staff. Staff will review it and then forward that on to the appropriate.
And that is the full extent of our ability here.
What about funding?
Okay, I'm getting to that. So if we don't believe we have any responsibility there, or we have a limited responsibility, which I, again, don't necessarily agree with, we are responsible, according to section 22-171, to seek financial assistance from the state, the county, and federal jurisdictions to assist with funding for the historic areas that need funding to help them over situations such as this. Have we been doing that? Because ever since I've been on the board, we haven't.
I have.
Okay.
I looked into it. Been
Okay.
not eligible because mostly private residents.
Yeah, and that's an issue that staff has looked at before. There are no public monies available for residential historic property.
Everything.
Most properties I've cited are commercial.
The specific area is not eligible.
Yep.
They're focusing on interested or specific areas that have specific backgrounds, and Matt Lachey does not meet the criteria for most of the funding.
So do we know why 22-171 is even in here then?
So that section establishes that designated historic resources would be eligible for any financial assistance that is available. So it creates that eligibility to the extent that there were funding. I believe there was a period of time in the past where there was such funding. It's no longer available. So, I mean,
During in the recession in '09.
So the state, the county, and the feds have no,
30 years ago, there was money available. And I know this only because my own personal residence was designated a historic property with the intent that they would then apply for money to apply for state money to improve the property.
Yes, the county commissioners killed the grant program around 2016 or 17. So that was the end of that.
And the state money is all going to projects associated with specific cultural groups and the Main Street Florida projects, which would be maybe downtown Fort Myers. Which is unfortunate because you would think the Mount Lachey district would apply because it does kind of meet the criteria, but it doesn't.
Now, keep in mind that property owners of commercial properties, I believe there is a commercial bridge loan program for historic properties, but the owner of the property has to be the applicant. And we can inform people of that, but we can't make, we can lead them to the water, but we can't make them drink.
and then my final question or comment on this matter would be relief, which we are entitled to give from both building code, and we specifically are asking what can be done to relieve these potential property investors. Let's take the old fish house, for example, okay? Very historical significance in dead center of Mount Lachey. We've had several investors come in and look at that property, and it is clearly not, you can't rehabilitate that property. That property is gone. I can't even believe it withstood the search. Do they really need to hire an engineer to point out that this property cannot be rebuilt? Or
needs to be
is there
someone-
relief?
Yeah. It needs to be somebody who is qualified and certified to make that decision. I am not a qualified engineer. I could not go out there, and unless it was quite plainly a pile of rubble on the ground, I am not qualified to say it cannot be fixed, and therefore I rely on a certified professional specific to that area, to that field of qualification.
An architect can do it too. An architect can do it too. My own house had a demo permit on it when I bought it.
And we brought cases here, we've had cases show up here. I brought a couple that engineers said there's no salvaging this structure, and the board turned them down on demo because our impetus has always been to preserve, not to demo. It's actually been the opposite of what you're
Oh, I
a
know
proponent
that's why
for.
Matt Lachey, in my opinion,
Yeah.
this is my opinion, that's why Matt Lachey is destroyed today. because we denied so many homeowners from lifting their residence because we wanted diminutive old fishing village, and they're gone.
Yeah,
It's
and
disgusting what's happened in that community. I've lived there for 12 years. And that this board, I'm not saying these people, this board has some responsibility there. And now that they've been washed away because they weren't allowed to be raised, now we're like, oh, well, we can't really do anything.
That's
why
not true.
people despise
I
government.
take exception with everything you just said.
You can take exception, Joe, all you want. Look at Julie Oberlin's house, denied being raised. It's out in the Gulf somewhere. The one next to her, denied being raised. It's out in the Gulf somewhere.
What are we doing now? We haven't just said, oh, well, we can't do anything about it. What have we done lately?
Look at the old fish house.
Answer my question,
I am.
please.
I'm saying we can give these people relief.
No,
from
you're
having
telling me
to
what we can do hypothetically. What have we done lately as a board to help Malish?
Oh, I completely agree with that, okay? I agree with we
I
have
take
relaxed.
massive offense to this. Enough is enough with big exclamation points come with pitchforks and torches to the historic board.
They're not pitchforks and torches.
No, but
In
this,
prior meetings, they have been.
this kind of, what you're doing is making the perception in Mount Lachey that all of Mount Lachey's problems, that we're the impediment, and we're not at all. This made me really angry when I got it yesterday.
I'm sorry, but they've
And,
had enough.
but you've had enough. You need to be at the Lee County Commission meeting. You don't need to be here. Don't be here. I was there for all that. I wouldn't speak at that meeting because I knew several people there, half of which were inebriated when I was wandering through the crowd. And then people yelling and screaming about the board's got to be abolished, the board's the worst thing that ever happened in this place. I turned and walked off. You were calling me to come up and talk, and I left because I'm not going to stand in front of that and try to fire that back out at people because I just can't in my position. But we've done nothing but get out of the way for the last 2.5 years.
That is correct.
And we should get some credit for that instead of being the hysterical board that everybody in Mount Lachey talks about. And that's still what I hear there. I'm in Mount Lachey a lot. I deal with a lot of people that are clients there. I have a lot of friends that live in Mount Lachey. And all I get is that all of this problem that rains down on us is because of the hysterical board. And it's not us anymore.
So I hope that this board understands they do appreciate the changes that we made.
That's not what that advertisement looks like in that
But
email.
they're talking, they're,
How many people did that email get sent to? How many people did that get sent to?
may I say.
It wasn't one person, because I have a list.
That is going to be pointed towards code compliance, county commissioners, and this board.
It's where all that should be pointed towards. It shouldn't be
And
pointed
this
to
board
us.
is part of where they're going to.
Well, I mean, I don't know, just listening to this, it sounds like you would prefer there was no historic district in the first place.
Absolutely not.
so-
I'm asking we do our job.
Well,
What are you not doing?
And I've advised this board collectively, I understand you disagree with me, but I've advised this board what its role is in this issue.
Okay, so if we can't go after money, which it says we can, and we can't.
Have you identified a source of money that you would like staff to investigate?
My recommendation is that someone on this board be spearheaded with doing that.
Would you like to be that person?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that's a great resolution to your issue then. Please explore funding sources and come back and let us know. We'll be happy to take a look at that.
Okay, then that,
Still staff, though, staff.
We're not there yet. If you'll be quiet just a second, I'm going to ask everybody if we're finished talking, then we'll put it up for public discussion.
and there is one other concern. I've never
So we're not
seen
yet.
a memo being handed out like this ever in this meeting, so I do feel like the Matlacha Civic Association was specifically targeted to, I've never had anybody limited to 3 minutes of speaking in this meeting, nor have I ever had something like this handed out a minute before the meeting started.
So I was asked by the chair, by email yesterday afternoon, forwarding the information that was found on the internet about this, encouraging people to come and share their voices to the Historic Preservation Board, along with an extremely lengthy PowerPoint presentation. And I was asked to provide legal guidance on whether or not this board is required to entertain a lengthy presentation on a non-agendaed item that is, in my opinion, not within its jurisdiction. So my legal opinion is that no, this board is not required to entertain a lengthy presentation on a non-agended item that is outside its jurisdiction. So my recommendation, and again, this is within the Lee County Administrative Code, the chair of an advisory board meeting is allowed to decide procedure and points of order. So that was my recommendation to the chair. I apologize, but that I couldn't get this out sooner. But again, I was asked to compile this research yesterday afternoon, and I was able to get it out just shortly before this meeting.
And Ms. Walsh, please understand that the use of a
No,
time
there
limit
was
is...
no off the record. I don't know. Excuse me, we are not in public comment, and if you'd like to call the Commission on Ethics and file a complaint, you're free to do that, but there was no sunshine law violation. A chair of a meeting is allowed to consult with staff. There was not discussion among these board members about what is happening at this meeting.
And also, I'd just like to say, the use of time limits is used by the chair, the county board, is used by the local planning agency. It's a standard Robert's Rules of Order that we use here.
I agree with that, Peter, but it's never been implemented at any meeting that I've been at here since I've been on the board. That's
Yeah.
my only comment.
There's,
I'll offer, I've been
Okay.
here 8 years or whatever, I've never had a 60-page non-agenda presentation show up that we were expected to pay attention to.
Well, you know, we're passionate about that community.
Well,
And
so am I.
we feel this board, whether it's code compliance that hasn't kept us in the loop, or it's the board that we feel hasn't partnered with code compliance to do something about the historical district there, that's where this community is. And it's not going to get any better from here. And that's not a threat. I'm just telling you, I attend all the meetings. I know they're at their wits' end. So that is all I have to say. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And as a matter of record, we have received memos from the Office of the County Attorney before in this fashion, precisely in this fashion, just not while you were sitting on the board. But so much of this is really outside of our purview. And I agree with you that we should have more say into what they're doing. But we don't. We don't have a direct line into the county to say, hey, where's the demo order on this one? Where's code enforcement on this one? This is an issue. I can't call up the sheriff's department and say, hey, why aren't you busting people who are producing drugs in this and this building in the historic district? All of that is outside of our control. And we are on your side. I agree with you, Kathleen. I am on your side in this. But I can't do anything about that. And I have asked many times, many people, to please add my email address, which is the one that's on my LinkedIn, is on the county's website, to the mailing list for the Matlacha Civic Associations, so I can attend those meetings too. I have never been put on the mailing list. I joined and followed the Facebook page to try to go. I was told there was a meeting at a specific day. I had somebody else pick up my daughter. I left work early. I drove out there, and I sat at Blue Dog by myself for half an hour because nobody was there. The meeting had been canceled, and despite the fact I had been personally invited by one of the attendees in person to go to it, I was not told that the change had happened. The change was not published on Facebook. Wasn't in an email I got because I don't get the emails. You know, we are all trying, and I understand that prior board members have been more antagonistic towards people living in these residences in Matlacha and have really pushed preservation at the expense of conservation and at the expense of human use of properties. Mm-hmm. But we're trying.
I know.
We really are trying, and so much of this is outside of our purview. And I would love it if we could table this discussion briefly until we get to the point of speaking to the public, unless there's more that's really within our tiny, narrow purview of what we can do, because we have so little authority over everything. We really have so little authority over the property rights of the individual property owners, which is why my own house was approved for demo, because it wasn't deemed safe. So we really are trying. Is there any way, Joe, we can stop here since we are kind of...
I just want to add, I'm the same way.
So you have
I drive
something
through
to add.
Matlacha 2 to 4 times a day. I hate driving by the old house caved in, you know, next to the orange one that's still standing. I've heard all these stories from all these other people, just like you have. I lived on Pine Island maybe longer than anybody in this room has, and I appreciate your frustration and what's wrong with Matlacha, but this isn't the venue for it. This isn't the venue for the anger and all the vitriol I hear wandering around out there. It isn't us. You know, in narrow specific cases, it can be us, but what's going on out there right now isn't us. And so that's what bothered me about all of this, is that you guys are furthering the perception, I feel, whoever put this email out, if that's a civic association, you're furthering that perception of us being the blockade for Mount Lachey, and we are not. That isn't fair. And I'm tired of it.
Well-
I don't have to be on this board. I'm a volunteer here, so me being tired of it doesn't have to mean anything to anybody. But we put a lot of time in here. I've spearheaded a lot of change here in the last 7 or 8 years. I mean, Peter would know that more than anybody probably. And for this kind of thing to get thrown on us, it just isn't fair.
I appreciate that, Joe, and there is consensus among the people in Mount Lachey that the board is trying. I don't think they're pointing the finger at this board. I believe they feel the board can maybe put some pressure on code compliance that they haven't heretofore. I think that's the perception. No one is screaming HPB. They're screaming Kevin Muane. They're screaming William Diaz. They're not screaming HPB. They're saying, can HPB help us get the historical nature of Mount Lachey back to what it was? And I'm on the board, so that is the consensus there. They are not coming after this board. They're just asking this board, what can you do to help us?
Okay.
So that's
We good as far as the board's concerned? Discussion?
With this specific issue?
Yeah, with this issue. Any other issues that the board would like to bring up?
Yes, this is probably my last meeting because we are moving out of the county.
Ah,
Because my husband is tired of living in a 130-year-old building that I won't let him tear down. Because we bought it, I joined the board and bought it to try to undo the demo. And Ian did another like 6 figures worth of damage to the house, and we spent everything we had and then some to try to recover it. And it's not happening. So sorry guys. Tried to save a historic property. I gave it 5 years. So that's really it. This is probably my last meeting since I don't believe we're meeting in June, but sorry guys.
sorry. Where are you guys going?
Jacksonville. Yep.
Another coast?
Other ghost, yep. That's it, maybe.
We will miss you, that's for sure, if this is your last meeting. So it's, you've been a big asset
Yep.
and help for us. So.
Thanks.
Okay, items by the public. Mr. You're in front, so I'll let you go.
Matter of clarification. The Lee County Commissioners, when they have items to the public, it's any item. This says item by the public on this agenda, which is sent out ahead of time. Do I understand that the ruling of the chair is that when the public comments to this board, do they only comment about those matters that are on the agenda?
Incorrect. The items by the public are just subject to the 3-minute time limit.
Right.
Okay, so Ms. Walsh could have had 3 minutes.
Ms. Walsh spoke for much longer than 3 minutes.
But could we recognize her as an item?
Right, but that's not a public comment.
Public,
She's
right.
a member of the committee. This is items by the public.
If we recognize a member of the public, we lose quorum.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So let's just start public comment, and you may go to the podium. No, we're not going to do this back and forth, sir. I believe so. You should go to the podium.
So they can pick up and record what you're
He already
talking
used the
about.
minute of this time.
No, I-
Janet, are you starting it right now? Okay. Janet has the official
That
timer
was a
over
joke.
there.
I'm sorry. I think I'm a lot funnier than I am.
name for the record. And make sure the mic is
I
on.
don't mean this to be my 3 minutes on a point of public comment, but how does Michael Hannon, and I'm on the board of directors of the Matt Lachey Civic Association and own property there. How does the Matt Lachey Civic Association get on your agenda to make a presentation and not be limited to 3 minutes?
This isn't a question and answer. You may give your comment, and we can write down.
I'm asking the chair, can we get on the...
Your questions and answer it when your time is done.
Okay. That's my only comment at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Is there going to be an answer to that?
Would the board like to request or put that on the agenda? I guess that there would need to be a board vote to invite the Civic Association to be an agenda item.
That would then need to be done sufficiently in advance to then be published.
Exactly. It would have to be a published agenda item, and we would need a board direction for that.
How many days?
I'm sorry, what?
How many days?
Our normal.
Yeah, what's our normal? 60, 30?
No, normal notice, your notice time is,
Oh, you mean for these meetings?
yes.
Well, yeah, but because
Notice
it's
the agenda.
changing the agenda,
The agenda goes out like 10 days before the meeting.
it had to be published way more than that, okay.
Yeah.
So,
But 2 or 3 meetings ago,
I'm sorry, you said your comment was done, so.
oh, this is my second one.
No, you said your comment was done. That was your only comment. We're not doing this Q&A back and forth, Mr. Hannon, we're not.
Well, that's
So,
what
if the,
we did ask for it to be on the agenda 2 meetings ago that
there was no
Mr.
vote,
Smith missed.
there was no vote to bring this onto the agenda as far as I know, and we are done, Mr. Hannon. Your public comment time is done.
So we would need a.
May I
If you
go
would like, well, actually, we should probably continue with public comment.
May I have the courtesy of the board to briefly describe the report that I wanted
You have
you to
told me that
consider?
you were done commenting. Your comment time is done, Mr. Hannon.
I gave notice to you all that I wanted to.
I don't know why you're disrupting the meeting at this point.
Well, maybe the chair would agree to extend the time to allow me to make this
There's no
presentation
extension of time. You've told us.
out of courtesy. I want to ask the board to look at a report that was done by the fiber team of the University of Florida, along with the collaboratory, that was attended in the presentation by Lee County planners
Well, it sounds like they've just heard your request.
and the State Department, the State Department of Transportation, and I wanted this board to be aware of it.
Are you just going to keep talking even though you've been told that your comment time is done? Is that your intent, to just keep talking?
My intent is to find out whether the chair will afford me the courtesy of simply using 3 minutes to tell you why I'd like you to look at this report.
Yeah, as the chair, I'll give you that again.
Thank you.
You've told us. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
So,
what really is supposed to happen, if I'm not, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that next meeting we would have a motion to put this on the agenda for the following meeting,
Yes.
because we're through that part of it.
Yes.
Right.
We're done with the action item.
We've heard all of that. I've seen the report. It's an awesome report. I don't know who funds these things for you guys. It's amazing.
could you speak up?
I said, I've seen the report. I said, I don't know who funds these for you, but somebody spent a lot of money doing this. It's all volunteer by the University of Florida. But so that's great. And I've seen the work you've done in the past, or at least you spearheaded with the aerial renderings and all the what I'll call the east side of the big bridge. You know, you're doing great work out there. I am on your side on all this. What I don't appreciate is what you're doing now, because you are trying to just take over the meeting essentially.
All I want to know is whether I have 3 minutes to talk about.
You already gave that, and you already ended it, and that's on you. No, sir, not anymore. You come from a background that is well versed in what's going on in here, and it's
Oh, I am well versed.
so.
This is a huge step back in the relationship between this organization and Matt Lachey. Huge.
You're only one person in Malachy.
Are there any members of the public that would like to
Yeah.
comment?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, that's what I was saying to Chris or to Amanda.
Hi, Chris Walzak here. So I guess a comment in general, the real struggle from the community comes from the unknowns, which we're all working through. We have been working through and we'll continue to work through. So I get everybody's frustration. I try guiding this community towards the appropriate departments, regions, people, everything, because I get it. You can't be asking the wrong question to the wrong person. It's not going to help anything. And that's where it's heading. In general, some questions that are underlying that may appease some of the community.
I don't care not because I'm in the mix and stuck in it either way, is what is their
the process from the county for those derelict buildings, of which I'm one of them. I'm cited by code enforcement every day. I'm in the mix trying to get fined. Staff in other departments won't do anything. Going through these processes cause crazy amounts of side trails and issues. Like, there's no clear outline as to how to do this process, or because there are so many departments, there are so many places and people to keep happy, and every step you go, somebody else is going to tell you something different that doesn't match, and you're never going to make everybody happy. It's been crazy, and it's frustrating. And I'm not expecting you guys to kind of outline everything, but I know it's been a learning curve probably for the county too on how to address this. And since I'm involved as well by being cited and have this open, building for unsafe building violation, which has been through review 4 times, and I'm sure some other staff will tell me that I haven't done my due diligence to maintain and keep up, but then you can see the effort I've been putting in over the past 3 years, and I have made zero progress, like, in general. Guys, so if you want to outline that for the people of the community, they may appreciate it. I'd like to know too, because I want to protect myself. We have a direction here that I think may work for me now. I got people from the environment or the community saying, when are you going to get it done? It's going to be a few more years. I still have many processes to go through before I even swing a hammer, let alone the money factor. This thing's killed me. Any of those grants, it's like, you've been through it too. You get it. Like, trying to do the good, right thing. It's painful. It's learning. I appreciate the process and the learning and education I've gotten from it, but any transparency or clarification on that, I think, would be appreciated, so people can maybe track it. There's a number of things, but that's just a statement. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Can we take a 2-minute recess? I'm sorry.
Sure. 2-minute break, everybody, for bathroom, water.
Motion for recess, I think?
Yeah,
Do we need a
motion,
motion?
sorry, you motioned to recess, yeah, sorry.
I'd like to move for a
Can't
2-minute
leave.
recess.
Second? Reconvene it too? Yeah? I don't know. Yeah, no, we're moving to, my husband's so excited because we're moving to a house that's only from 1981 as opposed to 1891.
Only 44 years? Huh?
All this stuff pushing.
Yeah.
Personal property. That's how they do things.
That's what we've been trying to figure out.
And really we've had 2 storms since last.
though, and I started crying when I realized that. 'Cause it's like, sorry, I just doomed you to another house.
Oh, the one you're going to?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I got $1,000 from the existing one. It's gonna be torn down and scrapped. Whoever buys a house is gonna scrap it. You wanna buy a house?
No. I just finally got my pool running after 2.5 years, so I'm in the same maintenance issue. All right, we'll call the meeting back to order. Any more? We were in the items by the public. Anybody else in the public like to come up and give us a 3-minute comment? No. Okay, staff. Committee members we already did, right? Everybody through? Staff, any items?
No items from staff.
Next meeting date, any new cases coming? Pete or Mary Sue? You again?
Willing to comment on my inquiries or about the demolition processes and procedures, timelines, and responsibility of Lee County?
All right, I made the note to myself to call about this and ask. I will look what was done when somebody attempted to demo the property that I currently own. And if I can determine some sort of like easy timeline, I will try to make a graphic. I will direct staff to make a graphic that has an explicit list. I agree that it would be great if there was communication between code and staff for the process of relieving code enforcement fines, which I believe you can ask at a hearing. You could ask at a hearing to have those relieved. It may be the case that staff would be in a position to advocate for you in those situations, or for approved demo permits, for example. It may be the case that, I don't know, I will defer to Joe on this, maybe and Amanda on this. I don't know if we can do something like write a recommendation to the code hearing to have your fines mitigated and relieved. Is this something we can do?
Code enforcement isn't
I know it's totally
my department. They don't have general public comment in code enforcement hearings, but I'm not sure if the HECS will accept recommendations
Would they?
on code enforcement issues. I mean, you're free to, you're of course free to reach out.
The public can attend code enforcement hearings.
Right.
I do not know of the standing of people from the general public to be allowed to comment.
Right, there's no comment at the code enforcement hearings, just testimony by the applicant. But, I mean, I think, well, staff has heard you loud and clear today that there probably should be some reaching out to the code enforcement department, the building official, to help get some clarity first on how the process has been going and whether or not the land development code is being followed, because I do want to make sure that that is being followed. And then second of all, what process they would be best for this board to communicate their specific concerns to the building official and to the code enforcement department. So I think we've definitely heard that, and I think that's something we can try to fix. It's not going to be a perfect solution, and it's not going to make everybody happy. Unfortunately, government always kind of works like that, in my experience. It's slow and not always, makes everyone happy at the end of the day. But we have to abide by the rules and regulations that we have. We can't deviate from them, especially considering the very important issue of private property rights for property owners. So yeah, I think staff is definitely going to take a look at that issue. Hopefully, we can have someone from code enforcement or the building department attend a meeting. That will probably be my request.
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Mm-hmm. We had that right after Ian.
Several times.
Yeah.
Maybe an update is in order.
Sean and Jessica and that crew all came, Sean McNulty and...
But again, that update will be limited to the issues that pertain to this board, which are designated historic resources.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, agenda 5 items finished. Next meeting date. That was what I was starting on. Any cases? We have cases on the way, or a case on the way.
Is it
Is it definitely coming, it's definitely coming our way? It's not something that you guys can handle? Okay.
Isn't,
And I do have other cases that may be ready at that time. People have not applied yet, but they're going to. So I don't know how soon they'll be ready.
So we'll keep that June meeting, and then if there are no cases, then it'll be canceled, and we'll let everybody know.
isn't June 19th a federal holiday?
I don't think it,
I have no
I
idea.
know it's June, but I don't think it's actually a bank holiday. I don't think it was last year anyway.
I don't even know what day it is
It's
today.
not March. I don't have it on my calendar as a federal holiday, so.
Yeah, I don't know if the county's closed or not.
What holiday is it?
The June 19th.
No, the county's not closed for that day.
So we would still meet that day.
I mean, unless this board won't have a quorum.
I will be present, and I believe there's another applicant coming. Yeah.
I'll be here.
I will still be here, so.
Be here.
Okay, that should be.
Am I able to ask, as Mr. Hannon brought up, that Matt Lachey Civic Association be put on the agenda for that day? Is that something that we can do?
Yeah, I don't know if does it have to be motioned next meeting? I mean, that would be,
So my recommendation is we're going to let staff reach out to the building official to get some actual information about how we might solve the problem before we kind of venture into that. My suggestion would be, after we hear that information, if the board would like to, as a board, entertain a special presentation, then the board would vote on that at that meeting, and then it would be scheduled on the agenda. Everyone from Matt Lachey can come and, participate in that meeting, and everyone can have notice of it. But that would be my recommendation, is let staff come back with whatever information that they can find for you, and then at next meeting decide whether and to what extent, what parameters you would like such a presentation to focus on.
I think they'd really like to present the University of Florida report that you've seen. And that was a volunteer. University of Florida did that on their own. And they've been incredible. And they have presented something very thorough. And actually, Lee County attended the last meeting. So Lee County officials have been to that meeting as well. So it'd be nice for this group to see.
okay, yeah. You guys have it. Can you pass it back out to us?
This report, this study?
I'll have to check to see what is in my files, if it is.
Well, yeah.
And if we have it, I'll print out copies for you.
Can somebody email it to me?
Yeah, I should email it to you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Send it to the board members. She has it, I have it. So I know I copied all of you guys, all of y'all, and Alex has it, and I didn't have anything for, is Dirk gone? Is he out of the picture? Yeah.
He's at the different department now.
I remember he was moving, but I didn't see him come up when I went.
Economic
chasing
development.
Email addresses, so, okay. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I hate to always have to vote on this.
I know.
Okay. Thank you for coming, public, everyone.